Revelers, this is Off the Rails, Right versus Left, the podcast that we do because we think the left is evil. I'm Rob B.
And I'm Brad Lee.
And I'm Brian G.
And we are Off the Rails, Right versus Left. Again, we're doing this show because we think everybody needs to know that the left is evil.
Classic.
Welcome, Revelers. It's Off the Rails, Right versus Left. And I'm Rob B. And next to me is...
Bradley.
And we're hoping to get joined by a couple more fellas here in a little bit. But I'm trying to bring my screen down so I'm not looking up at you guys. Ah, there we go. Got it. So anyway, I'm going to start this off with the funniest thing I've seen in a minute. This is a hilarious. Well, I'll just play it.
It's a phone call. People are having a field day on X with this.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's bloody brilliant.
Congratulations.
Oh my goodness.
Now, listen, let's be clear. You are the puppet, and I'm the puppet master. Just call me Daddy. Big Daddy Barack. From now on, you're my bitch, both literally and figuratively. Now look, we're going to rig this thing just like we did for Joe, so you don't have to really do anything. Just don't fuck it up. But it would be nice if you could pretend to not be a total idiot, just until November. Like, don't talk about shit you know nothing about.
AI is kind of a fancy thing. It's, first of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence. But ultimately what it is it's about machine learning. And so the machine is taught.
And look, we get it. You like Venn diagrams. You don't have to keep reminding us.
I love Venn diagrams. I love Venn diagrams. I love Venn diagrams.
And for the love of God, stop with the laugh. Your laugh, it's weird. It's a weird laugh. You scare people. It's not even a laugh. It's more of a cackle. You're like the Wicked Witch from The Wizard of Oz, except you're brown. You're like a cross between a human being and a hyena. You're like a transgender version of the Joker. All right, now look, we need this rigged election to look real. And we know that nobody really likes you, so this is what we're gonna do. We know you can't fill a stadium like Trump. So what we're gonna do instead, we're gonna bring in a popular musician by the name of Megan Thee Stallion. Now, Megan Thee Stallion is gonna host a free concert. This concert will be in Atlanta. And so now here's the twist. You're gonna come on stage and speak for a bit. Then we pretend that it was a Kamala Harris rally. Then America will think that you can fill up a stadium just like Trump does. American voters are stupid. They'll totally fall for it. And when speaking, I want you to try to sound as black as you can. Instead of saying everyone, I want you to say y'all.
And you all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024.
Black people love that shit. I grew up in Hawaii, but hell, it worked for me. All right, what do you think?
I'm looking forward to doing this, getting out there, being on the road, and we're going to have some fun with this too, aren't we?
All right, so I thought that was hilarious. Where is my restream tab? There it is.
Oh, that was hilarious. I'll give that one to you.
Now, the funny thing is like, that's parody. Of course, it pisses. I don't know if you heard about old New Scum down there in California threatening to try and have parodies illegalized. Did you see what Elon? Yeah, did you see what Elon Musk responded?
I just downloaded X not that long ago. Formerly known as Twitter. Did you see that he put a thing out about whether he should, I think you were telling me about that. About whether they should change it back to Twitter or keep it X.
Yeah.
And people are all, oh, it should go back to Twitter. I'm like, I think it should be Twatter.
Well, check out what he did. This is funny. So, yeah. So this was in response to New Scum, the commie dictator of California, saying that he was going to make it illegal to post parody videos on X. So, is it sharing? Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
This is funny. I checked with a renowned world authority, Professor Sugon D's nuts, and he said parody is legal in America. So, yeah, that was freaking hilarious. So, do you want to see the campaign parody?
Sugon these nuts.
Yeah, that was hilarious. So, let's see. I can
Sugon these nuts.
Yeah, it's so that was his reply. But let's see. It was Mr. Reagan that shared the parody. Here it is.
I, Kamala Harris, am your Democrat candidate for president because Joe Biden finally exposed his senility at the debate. Thanks, Joe. I was selected because I am the ultimate diversity hire. I'm both a woman and a person of color. So if you criticize anything I say, you're both sexist and racist. I may not know the first thing about running the country, but remember, that's a good thing if you're a deep state puppet. I had 4 years under the tutelage of the ultimate deep state puppet, a wonderful mentor, Joe Biden. Joe taught me rule number 1, carefully hide your total incompetence. I take insignificant things and I discuss them as if they're significant. And I believe that exploring the significance of the insignificant is in itself significant. Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time, and there is such great significance to the passage of time. Another trick is trying to sound black. I pretend to celebrate Kwanzaa, and in my speeches, I always do my best Barack Obama impression. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. And okay, look, maybe my work addressing the root causes of the border crisis were catastrophic, but my knowledge of international politics is truly shocking. The United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. It is an alliance that is strong and enduring. And just remember, when voting this November, it is important to see what can be unburdened by what has been. And by what has been, I mean Joe Biden.
America has been unburdened by what has been.
Yeah. I actually cut off the last part. The last part was, you think America has seen the worst? You ain't seen nothing yet. So I've got one more great video queued up here for Kamala Harris, and then we're going to talk about her VP pick. All right, so here it is.
You know what also excites me? Among the many things, I'm excited about electric school buses. I love electric school buses. I just love them for so many reasons. Maybe because I went to school on a school bus. Hey, raise your hand if you went to school on a school bus, right? What?
You know, I think that there's a duality to the nature of democracy. When it's intact, oh, it's so strong. And it is very fragile.
2 million people cross this border for the first time ever. You're confident this border's secure?
We have a secure border in that is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration.
A bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone?
We're too busy watching what you're doing to hear what you're saying.
Oh my God! Wow!
As we all know, elections matter. And when folks vote, they order what they want, and in this case, they got what they asked for.
Great story. Compelling and rich.
The bus has Wi-Fi and even USB outlets next to every seat. I mean, come on, imagine.
We have a problem.
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong.
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
The challenge that we have as an administration is we got to let people know who brung it to them. That's our challenge.
good one.
I am Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she and her. I am a woman sitting at the table wearing a blue suit.
No better word than stupid. Right? There is none.
The job of the vice president.
She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
So the funny thing is, the most ridiculous video wasn't even parody. That was actually just Kamala Harris.
Which one?
That last one, that wasn't parody. That was all just
everyone that was just Kamala Harris.
Yeah,
everyone was funny and that wasn't
Not
parody.
the end.
Yep. So you know, you gotta give props to Kamala Harris. She's very hard to parody because she's so fucking ridiculous.
You're right. Yeah, you don't have to make a parody of her. She's a walking parody.
So
like Joe was a walking gas.
Yeah. So now what is it? What's his name? Tampon Tim Waltz?
Mm-hmm.
That's who she named as her
Walls. It's Walls, not Waltz. Because if you see Tim Waltz, people are gonna think the fucking Jew hunter.
Well,
Tim Waltz was the Jew hunter in fucking Glorious Bastards.
Isn't that about right though? Except that, we'll get into how he handled his time in service. But this is the governor of Minnesota, right?
Yep.
Well, I think I remember something going on in Minnesota. What was that? I think it was like this.
It started out as a lot of people gathering, which is your First Amendment right. But it quickly changed.
Each day it just compounded. The first day it was like 1,000 people. The next day it was 4,000 people. And then the day after that, 10,000 people.
The heart's racing right now talking about this.
They'd throw rocks and bricks and fire bombs. I'm like, what is going on? Where do I live right now?
What'd you think of this plan to surrender the precinct?
No way. No way. They're not going to do that. You can't just give up a precinct.
Sent a strong message that they're in control. They're still in control to this day.
So personally, I can't wait to watch that documentary. I didn't even know about it. I just found it today, and I'm like, okay, I've got to watch this documentary. But yeah, that's a great reminder of who Tim Walz is.
Yeah. Amen.
Well, I mean, the guy's trying to get tampons in boys' rooms in schools. What? Boys' bathrooms in schools.
Teenage boys cut their penis off.
Yep, dude, I just can't wait till this fucking, because that law is about to take effect. So I hope this year when kids get in school, those boys do what boys do and fucking flush those fucking things down the toilet and fucking clog up the fucking toilets. And then they have to fucking spend a bunch of money to fucking fix the problem. And then they'll tell the boys to quit doing it, but they won't quit doing it because they're fucking teenage boys and they fucking think this shit is stupid. And then eventually they'll just have to stop fucking putting tampons in the boys' room.
They know it's stupid.
You know what I think is great is like when he's like trying to preach to get rid of like AR-15s and shit, he tries to say that they're weapons of war like he used.
But he didn't use anything.
Well, hold on.
He ran away with his tail between his legs.
Yeah.
Here, let's take a look at how his military service went.
Guardsmen that I spoke to in Minnesota were upset that Tim Walz, the two-term governor of Minnesota, was chosen as Kamala Harris's VP pick, largely because they said he was a traitor and a coward. He'd been with the National Guard in both Nebraska and Minnesota for about 20 years. In 2005, when his unit was about to deploy for fighting in Iraq, he retired. And this was seen as, a great sort of instance of cowardice on his part. Now, he did retire in order to run for Congress at that time. That's what his excuse was.
he didn't.
He did win his congressional seat after that campaign. But I spoke to a few of his former colleagues in the National Guard who were very upset by that. And the other thing that they were upset by is that he was using in his public relations bio on his website when he was a congressman that he had achieved a particular rank of commanding sergeant major. And in fact, he hadn't achieved that. He was working on it. So he should have retired as a master sergeant. That's what technically he was, and it was a lesser rank than he was promoting for himself. The man who stepped in to fill in for Walz when he decided to retire in 2005 was a man named Tom Behrens, and he's from Minnesota. He's a farmer. And he said he had no ill will at the time towards Walz. At that point, he said to me, I had 500 troops. I had to reassure them we were about to go to war, and I didn't even have time to be upset. But afterwards, when he saw Walz promoting himself, as
Your
having
mic is
achieved
on.
this rank that he hadn't achieved,
I can
that's
hear you,
when
Brian.
he started to get angry. And that's when he started writing letters, and he wrote letters to Walz while he was a congressman. He said they were never answered. And finally, he went public. In 2018, when Walz ran for governor of Minnesota, Tom Behrens wrote an open letter with another colleague saying that, he was, not that he lied about his military service, but he wasn't being forthcoming, and that he had left before he ever saw combat. So one thing about Tim Walz was that he had this long storied career in the National Guard, but he'd never been in a combat situation. He'd been to the Arctic Circle. He'd helped during natural disasters in the Midwest. He'd been up to Norway and to Italy, but he hadn't seen actual combat.
Yeah. And
in other words, he had no military service.
Well, it would be one thing if he was in line. It would have been one thing if he was in line to retire when he did, but he had signed up for 6 more years, and he was heading into this 4th year of what he signed up for when he decided to retire after they got the letter saying they were going to be employed.
Yeah, and he was trying to retire early.
Yeah.
What a piece of shit. But the biggest thing though is that he didn't decide to retire until after he got the letter. That's some chicken shit stuff.
And he lied. He said he had signed up for 4 more years, and they actually found out. They got the paperwork showing that he had actually signed up for 6 more years, which would have taken him to 2008 when he retired in 2005, going into 2006 when he was going to be deployed.
Yep.
Oh, Brad, you got deployed, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to Iraq in 2005. Yeah.
And you didn't run away like a bitch?
No. I did. I ended up going later than I was supposed to because my wife at the time was having surgery. So I went. I had to go home, but then I volunteered to go again. So I ended up going.
So there you go. So you didn't just run away like a little bitch, even though you had a reason not to go. You made sure you went anyways.
Yep.
Wow, funny. Sounds like that's what a member of a military service actually does. So, I kind of wonder how he compares to the other VP candidate. To JD Vance.
Oh, who they have to make up stories about?
Yeah, let's see here. I know I got something here for JD too. Let's see, where's it at? All right,
Marine who actually went and fought Iraq.
Yeah.
Yeah. The guy didn't run like a little bitch. He actually like served his country like he signed up to do.
Mm-hmm. And then his country served him when he went to school.
Yeah. So.
And now he's serving his country again.
Now, man, you gotta love JD Vance. So, basically, it looks like for the rest of the campaign, JD Vance is going to be out there dogging Kamala Harris and
just following her around.
Yeah, so here it is, starting out today. You notice that's Air Force One in the background there, or Air Force Two.
Yeah, Air Force Two.
I figured I'd come by and wanted to see a good look at the plane. Hopefully it's going to be my plane in a few months, but I also thought you guys might get lonely because the
Hopefully it's going to be my plane in a few months.
Yeah, that was good.
Have they given you guys an explanation for why she won't take questions from reporters? No?
Yeah, but what I think's funny is this gal over here in the corner, or standing off to his left there. Well, I guess it's off to his left, our right. That's the chick from the Trump assassination.
I'd love her to just answer what she wants to do and also explain why every single position she has changed. She pretends to be a prosecutor, yet she pretends to be a tough on crime prosecutor, and yet here she is wanting to defund the police. She's the border zero, yet she's open.
And there she is running away from the press while JD Vance is out there talking to him.
Wave to her.
Go do our event. I appreciate you guys being here. I wish she paid you some more attention. See ya.
Dude, that was brilliant. Brilliant. So, definitely a different kind of man there.
A better kind of man.
It just cracks me up. Walls is talking about how much he's looking forward to debating JD Vance, and if JD Vance will even have the courage to do it.
Or get off the couch. Get off the couch.
Yeah,
that was funny. And then
off the couch. Like, oh my.
And then I was like, that's funny. And then come to find out, it's not even true. The whole fucking he was working a couch thing. I thought it was. I was like, dude, I remember when I was a fucking kid and my hormones were raging. I mean, kids fucking use socks and shit.
I don't want to know.
Exactly, because you know what you did.
Nothing like that.
Yeah.
I
never used sock. I still don't use sock.
It was either right hand or left hand. I was way too shy for anything else.
The stranger. I sit on my right hand while I'm jerking it with my left until it falls asleep, and then I switch it up and see if I can. See if I don't go limp.
Jeez. Oh boy.
Oh jeez, man, that's great. Oh crap. Oh, did you see how also the Trump team has turned the weirdo dig against them?
Yeah, yeah.
In the latest Trump ad. Yeah, yeah. He was the one that called up. He started calling them weirdos. Yes,
man. He's a freaking weirdo.
Right?
Cut kids' penises off and stuff. It's like that is just freaking weird.
Putting tampons in boys' rooms. You're supposed to be teaching them, not fucking confusing them.
Yeah.
Right.
I know. Call JD and Trump weird, please.
Well, here's some more. Here's some more Vance. Like at first, I wasn't too sure about picking Vance, but I'm liking him more and more.
Yeah, that's what Dan Bongino says too.
Detroit last night, Governor Walz suggested that because of your Ivy League education and your Silicon backing your political career, that you yourself are part of the elite. What are your first impressions of them trying to frame you this way to the American public?
Well, look, I came from a family where nobody in my family had ever gone to law school. I grew up in a poor family. The fact that Tim Walz wants to turn it into a bad thing, that I actually worked myself through college, through law school, and made something myself, to me, that's the American dream. And if Tim Walz wants to insult it, I think that's frankly pretty bizarre. Now, look, what really bothers me about Tim Walz, it's not even the positions that he's taken, though certainly he has been a far left radical. You know what really bothers me about Tim Walz as a Marine who served his country in uniform? When the United States Marine Corps, when the United States of America asked me to go to Iraq to serve my country, I did it. I did what they asked me to do it, and I did it honorably, and I'm very proud of that service. When Tim Walz was asked by his country to go to Iraq, you know what he did? He dropped out of the Army and allowed his unit to go without him, a fact that he's been criticized for aggressively by a lot of the people that he served with. I think it's shameful to prepare your unit to go to Iraq, to make a promise that you're going to follow through, and then to drop out right before you actually have to go. I also think it's dishonest. Something, again, if you guys
Look
get
at
an
how he's doing with
opportunity
his
to
hands.
ask
He's
Tim
doing
Walz
the
or
Trump
Kamala
stuff.
Harris some questions,
Trump and the
he made
fucking-
this interesting comment that the Kamala Harris campaign put out there, and I bet they're regretting they
See
put it
it?
out there
You
now.
see what he's doing
because
with
he
his hands?
said
Ron
that
DeSantis
and he was
does the
making a
same
point about
thing.
gun control.
Well,
He
it's
said
not,
we
it's not a
shouldn't
Trump thing. It's
allow
a speaking with
weapons
open
that I
gestures
used
thing.
in
It's
war
like
to be on America's
public
streets.
speaking 101.
Nobody,
Well, I wonder,
look,
Tim
the
Walz,
way he's
when were you
holding his
ever in
hand,
war?
is nobody has
When
ever
was
done
this,
that.
what
They've
was
always
this
done
weapon
this
you carried
or
into war,
this.
given that you
They've
abandoned your
never
unit right
done
before they went
the
to Iraq,
two
and he has
fingers
not spent a
together like
day in
Trump
a
has.
combat zone?
And then
What
DeSantis
bothers
does
me about Tim
this,
Walz is
right?
this stolen valor garbage. Do not pretend to be something that you're not. And if he wants to criticize me for getting an Ivy League education, I'm proud of the fact
Everybody
that my
talks with
mamaw
their hands,
supported
right?
me, that I was able to make something of myself. I'd be ashamed if I was
Oh,
him and I
actually,
lied
you
about
know
my
who would
military
like do
service like
this a
he did.
lot? Reagan, if you watch some of his
Sir.
old speeches.
I want to talk a little about
Could you speak a little louder? Sorry.
Will Jones from Local 4. I want
Yes,
to talk
sir.
a little bit about race. I was at the National Association of Black Journalists conference last
Yes,
week
sir.
where President Trump made some attacks on Vice President Harris's biracial heritage. You're married to an Indian American woman. You have biracial children. How do you explain his attacks, and what is your reaction to his attacks as a father of biracial children?
Yes, sir. So I am the father of biracial children. Actually, my wife is here today. My kids are back home with my aunt today. And look, I was not bothered at all by what President Trump said, and I didn't take it as an attack on Kamala Harris's biracial background at all. What I took it as was an attack on Kamala Harris being a chameleon. She pretends to be one thing when she's in front of one audience. She pretends to be something else when she's in front of another audience. And I think he was observing the basic foundational reality that Kamala Harris pretends to be something different depending on which audience she's speaking to. Now, she has been able to hide this a little bit because for the past couple of weeks, she only speaks in front of a teleprompter. She never gives unscripted remarks, and she's hidden from the American media and from the American people. But we know she's a chameleon. We know she's a person who promised to defund the police and now wants to pretend she's a tough prosecutor. She said that she would be our border czar, and yet for 3.5 years, we have an open border. She said that she would bring some common sense and lower inflation to our economic policies, and yet she cast the deciding vote that raised interest rates, raised home prices, and raised food prices. Donald Trump said something very simple, totally inoffensive, but frankly, obviously true to me, which is that Kamala Harris is a chameleon. She's a fake, and the American people have to look at her record if we actually want to know how she stands on the issues, because her words simply can't be trusted.
So, yeah, this is what I'm loving about Vance, and it's actually the exact argument that I made for Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek is articulate enough to expound on the... I mean, Trump's good at great quip, but he's not the greatest at fleshing out what he means by his jokes. And I thought Vivek would be good about that, good about like fleshing out the details for the policy proposals and all that. And Vance is filling that role perfectly.
Here's the thing. Here's why you don't understand comedy, Rob. You shouldn't have to explain or nuance anything that you're saying when you're trying to be funny.
Okay.
The joke should come out organic. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but that's the thing with comedy. If you can read the room, like a lot of shit that fucking Trump did at the fucking NABJ was fucking hilarious. and
Right.
everybody there thought it was too.
And when
So
when the reporters are trying to do the gotcha, he's giving answers with substance, whereas Trump will just double down with the joke.
Right.
Because we know
Which is Trump.
Liberals aren't funny; they don't get jokes. So
right, exactly. That's exactly why fucking Kathy Griffin isn't out there making movies. That's why Rosie O'Donnell isn't out there making movies. That's why Roseanne Barr is actually still out there and in the fucking space, even though she has gotten political, and thankfully she got political on the fucking right side instead of back to where she was when she was originally in Hollywood.
Yeah, and you hear what's going on with late night TV right now because of all these like woke ass liberal hosts?
It's crashing.
It's crashing. The ad revenues are gone. All these shows are going to be off the air. The networks are going to end up going out of business. It's fucking awesome,
dude. And then you had Jimmy Kimmel and fucking Stephen Colbert. And they all decided they were going to do a podcast, and it didn't last because they didn't have any writers.
Yeah, I know. That was funny.
Yeah, that's funny. Aren't they supposed to be comedians? Why do they need writers?
Yeah. But they have writers because they can read and fucking deliver the jokes, but they can't think of them themselves.
Yeah.
So, anyways, but yeah, and it's like hilarious though that we're still like 2 weeks in. Kamala still hasn't stepped in front of reporters.
She won't, unless it's like an MSNBC or CNN.
Well,
she has all the
at the beginning of the
questions before she gets there.
You played the answer to that at the beginning of the show.
Yeah. Brian missed that. I played the.
I think he was there. The Barack Obama endorsing Hillary call at the beginning of the show.
You mean endorsing
Obama endorsing Kamala?
Yeah. So we'll go. That was so funny. It was so nice. We're gonna go ahead and play it twice. So this was Barack Obama giving his call of support to Kamala Harris. So in case you guys missed it at the beginning of the show, here it is. It's hilarious.
Oh my goodness.
Now, listen, let's be clear. You are the puppet, and I'm the puppet master. Just call me Daddy. Big Daddy Barack. From now on, you're my bitch, both literally and figuratively. Now look, we're going to rig this thing just like we did for Joe. So you don't have to really do anything. Just don't fuck it up. But it would be nice if you could pretend to not be a total idiot, just until November. Like, don't talk about shit you know nothing about.
AI is kind of a fancy thing. First of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence. But ultimately what it is it's about machine learning. And so the machine is taught.
And look, we get it. You like Venn diagrams. You don't have to keep reminding us.
I love Venn diagrams. I love Venn diagrams. I love Venn diagrams.
And for the love of God, stop with the laugh. Your laugh, it's weird. It's a weird laugh. You scare people. It's not even a laugh. It's more of a cackle. You're like the Wicked Witch from The Wizard of Oz, except you're brown. You're like a cross between a human being and a hyena. You're like a transgender version of the Joker. All right, now look, we need this rigged election to look real. And we know that nobody really likes you, so this is what we're going to do. We know you can't fill a stadium like Trump. So what we're going to do instead, we're going to bring in a popular musician by the name of Megan Thee Stallion. Now, Megan Thee Stallion is going to host a free concert. This concert will be in Atlanta. And so now here's the twist. You're going to come on stage and speak for a bit. Then we pretend that it was a Kamala Harris rally. Then America will think that you can fill up a stadium just like Trump does. American voters are stupid. They'll totally fall for it. And when speaking, I want you to try to sound as black as you can. Instead of saying everyone, I want you to say y'all.
And you all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024.
Black people love that shit.
Oh, well.
I grew up in Hawaii, but hell, it worked for me. All right, what do you think?
I'm looking forward to doing this, getting out there, being on the road. And we're going to have some fun with this too, aren't we?
That was brilliant. It's just ridiculous. So did you see that one, Brian? Oh shit, we lost him. So did you see this dumbass talking about the cloud?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And it's up there. It's in a cloud, right? Like you don't have to worry about it. It's in space.
Yeah, this shit. Oh my god, like I was dead when I saw this. Especially the like crack about it like not being in a physical place, but yeah.
So you're now no longer are you necessarily keeping those private files in some file cabinet that's locked in the basement of the house. It's on your laptop, and it's then therefore up here in this cloud that exists above us, right? It's no longer in a physical place. So you're now no longer are you necessarily.
So like this bitch actually thinks the cloud storage is literally in the cloud and not in a physical space.
You know what's funny though?
For anybody that doesn't know what storing stuff in the cloud means, it's on the servers in the server warehouse of whatever company is providing the cloud
The
service.
cloud.
It is in a physical server in a physical place. It's just the cloud because it's not taking up storage on your computer. It's taking up storage space on the cloud server, which is
Dude,
not in the clouds. It's in a warehouse in Seattle, Washington.
It's funny. I saw the light bulb pop up over your head when I said, "You know what? You know what? You say that, but she's probably not the only one that thinks that."
Yeah, no, I mean, I realized that's why I was just like, oh, okay, hold on, just in case anybody doesn't know.
Yeah.
So after I first retired, like I was interested in like computers and shit. But like, man, learning to code just made me feel stupid, especially like with my son, the way he was coding at such an early age. So I went and like learned how to actually physically build them. And I went to work at HP building servers. And we literally built a bunch of the fucking server towers that went and like we did one of these like big, like, you know, like the containers, like the 40-foot containers. Like we fill those shit up with like 5,000 terabytes of storage and then ship off the whole container to Facebook or Amazon or Google. Like it's crazy. But yeah, it's definitely in a physical place. But I don't know where the fuck her brain is because it doesn't seem to be in a physical place.
Her brain is up in the clouds.
So
with the rest of the storage.
But my question is, like, arguably 2024 is definitely looking like way more of a shit show than 2020.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Well, it has to be because they don't have COVID to cover it up.
Dude, 2020, like, fucking riots were happening, like, here and there. 2024, they're fucking happening all over the world. It's insane. Like, the shit going on in London and, like, the craziness. Like, the Prime Minister of London is threatening to attack the actual, like, British citizens and not the Muslims walking around with machetes and
stabbing babies and raping girls.
Exactly. And yet this mayor or this prime minister was talking about making it illegal to carry around knives, and yet he's perfectly okay with people walking around with machetes. You know? And then you look at like what Sweden, they or not, is it Sweden? Yeah, I think it's Sweden. Like gangland killings from Somali asylum seekers, like doing the same thing there, walking around with machetes, stabbing people, chopping people's heads off. It's crazy.
You okay with that, leftists? Seems like you are.
It does.
Gotta kill them Jews. Gotta kill them Jews.
It's pretty disgusting.
So it's I mean, it's nuts. And then like the way that like the big companies are like hiding everything, it's crazy. And then they're like making it look like, let's see here. I mean, I swear to God, I like saw all this before, It was just like on this side of the pond. And the fact that they call it like far right, it's ridiculous.
Tonight, violence and vitriol on the streets of the United Kingdom, targeting migrants and mosques in an ugly eruption of anti-immigrant sentiment. For more than a week, riots breaking out in city after city, cars torched in northeast England, fires raging in Belfast in Northern Ireland. This hotel, used to house asylum seekers, set ablaze. More than 400 arrests so far, including nearly 150 just this weekend. Police warning the number will rise.
I can confirm today we have seen at least 12 of our officers injured, with items such as brick fence posts, branches, and other missiles thrown at them.
Authorities blaming much of the violence on far-right extremist groups, some with neo-Nazi ties. Prime Minister Keir Starmer on the job only a month, vowing to deploy the full force of the law.
Whatever the apparent motivation, this is not protest, it is pure violence, and we will not tolerate attacks on mosques or our Muslim communities.
Communities now living in fear.
Muslim people, we're not terrorists. That's how I feel like. I feel like we're being threatened. It's not safe.
Amid the chaos, counter-protesters pushing back. Why is this happening? The immediate trigger, the murder last week of 3 young girls in a horrific stabbing spree. In the hours after, far-right provocateurs posted disinformation on social media, claiming the suspect was an immigrant in the UK illegally. It went viral.
But he was.
It wasn't true.
Okay, hold on. So I'm gonna like hop in here. I'm not gonna let NBC News lie about this here. So the kid was not an immigrant. He was the anchor baby of immigrants born in Wales, but his parents were immigrants that came across on the little boat. They were illegal immigrants to the UK.
And where did you
Which
get
should
that
automatically make him.
So, but let's see here. What was that?
Where did you get the information on who the perpetrator was?
Well, they're finally saying that.
Who's they though? Is what he's trying to say.
Yeah,
I mean, I believe it. I'm just saying that people are going to want to know where you got the information from.
It's kind of all over right now, like who it is, because they're trying to use this. Well, he's not an immigrant, and his parents were.
Yeah.
So it's misinformation to say that he was an immigrant. That's not misinformation. He was a Muslim. He's the Muslim.
Yeah.
He's the Muslim kid of immigrants. Those those cultures do not assimilate. So he is not British. He is a Muslim Somali.
Yeah, he's being taught the culture of where he came from, and not to blend in with the culture of the UK, which is what immigration should be doing.
Exactly.
Bloomberg busts out one hell.
I mean, that's the way it used to work, and that's one reason the U.S. was so great, is because immigration was controlled to a point, and you brought over people that wanted to come over and become part of your culture, they brought over some of their culture, and it became part of our culture, but they were immigrating, mixing, and becoming part of who we already were.
Okay, so let's take a look at these peaceful Muslims here, courtesy of Sky News.
Oh boy.
Shouting peace. In Birmingham on Monday, Muslims did take matters into their own hands. Some carried weapons amid rumours the far right were coming. The police now under pressure to explain why they didn't do anything to stop people who were clearly armed. A group then went on to attack a man at a pub, punching and kicking him. The violence was sudden and shocking for those who were watching on.
The ones that were doing the fighting were trying to boot the door in. They cracked the glass over there, damaged the handle to the doors over that side. And we had to barricade the doors up with tables and chairs and stuff to make sure they couldn't get in, really.
One of the demonstration's organisers has been to the pub to apologise and is urging calm in his community.
Fuck that guy. That guy needs to get fucking dragged out into the streets and fucking stripped down and whipped. Fucking piece of shit.
After being convicted of treason. We're not proposing vigilante justice anywhere.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying you go out and do that. That's
Yet.
just what I feel. That's what I feel should happen.
So, like, there's tons of footage of this. Like, it's just so hard to find because obviously, like, the British media and the U.S. media are trying to make it look like it's all far right. Well, it's not far right. Let's see.
Which British far right is totally different than American far right.
Yeah. So, well, and nothing that they say is far right is really far right. Like what they call far right is like Nazis, which are actually far left.
Left. Yep.
Like I've said that a million
we've been
times.
Over that.
Nazism
we've been
is
over
not
that.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that.
No, because a lot of people are stupid enough to listen to the media.
Yeah. Yeah. The Nazis are anti everything that conservatives believe in. So I just don't. Yeah, it's not conservative right at all. Not even a little bit.
So let's see here.
Bloomberg busts out one hell of a correction amid Tim Walz's stolen valor. Bloomberg News Bloomberg News was forced to edit a glaring mistake in what was apparently intended to be a glowing profile of Governor Tim Walz. A mistake that only fanned the social media flames surrounding already existing claims that Walz was guilty of stolen valor. Kamala Harris, who only rose to the top of the ticket 2 weeks earlier after President Joe Biden announced that he could not continue his campaign, announced on Tuesday that Walz would be her running mate, and the article in question, headlined Walz Holy Trinity of Normal, Coach, Teacher, Veteran, was published just hours later. In the piece, Bloomberg Businessweek correspondent Joshua Green referenced Walz's military career, just over 24 years in the Minnesota National Guard, but flubbed a couple of key details when he claimed that Walz had deployed to Iraq in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. Marine Corps veteran and editor-in-chief of the Daily Caller, Jeff Ingersoll, pointed out the fact that OEF was Afghanistan. Operation Iraqi Freedom was a campaign that put boots on the ground in Iraq. Additionally, Walz never deployed to Iraq at all, and numerous reports state that he took a conditional promotion to the rank of Command Sergeant Major only to back out and abruptly retire altogether shortly after being informed that his unit was scheduled to deploy to Iraq. Prior to that, he was briefly assigned to a post in Italy in support of OEF, but never served in the combat zone. Ingersoll also pointed out that it mattered whether Green had simply gotten his report wrong or had been misled by Walz. Wow, this is wild. Also, OEF was Afghanistan, not Iraq. Walz should be forced to confirm or deny whether he missold Bloomberg's @Joshua Green, who is still reporting to this day that Walz did a tour in Iraq, and Green should come out and say whether he was misled. This is false then, and it's false now. At some point on Wednesday, Bloomberg updated the article, noting at the top of the page that the piece was corrected August 7th, 2024 at 3:46 p.m. Central Daylight Time to correctly state that Walz had served in Italy rather than Iraq. Well, and then Green posted it on his X account as well.
Yeah, well, I think it's perfect. He runs from conflict. Then you look at the shameful withdrawal in Afghanistan. You look at what's going on right now. Since October 8th, our troops have been hit 219 times in the Middle East. And what has our president done about it? Not a goddamn thing.
Nothing.
Well, here's another piece of information for you about Walz.
Go ahead.
As Somali gang, here's some more information about you about Walz. This ought to tell you how much he loves Jews. As Somali gangs waged war and trafficked children in Minnesota, Tim Walz asked for more Somali refugees.
Yeah.
That's just the headline from the Daily Wire.
I'm so shocked.
Interesting. We want more. We want more. Well, we're coming up on the 1 hour mark, guys.
All right, so yeah, we're gonna wrap this up. I hope we brought some information out there that you guys were enlightened by, and man, this has just been a crazy year, and I don't think it's gonna get less crazy for the last few months of it here. But
Oh, it's gonna get worse after November.
yeah, we'll see. We can hope for the best, but
Well, I mean, if the Democrats win, it's not going to be super terrible. But if the Democrats lose, that's where the problem comes in. And it looks to me like that's what's going to happen. But
And I'm not sure it won't be any worse. It won't be any better if the Democrats win, because it might take longer. But she is going to put in such a radical agenda that it will lead to a hell of a lot more. But just further down the line, as these things go into effect, like when she does the mandatory gun, the mandatory gun, whatever, what is it called? Buyback.
The mandatory buyback.
Mandatory, which means if you don't bring it to them, they're coming for it.
And then the U.S. government will find out that the reason the founders gave us the weapons was to fight back a tyrannical government. Yep. And the saying, for you can pry it from my cold dead fingers, is some real shit. So that's all we've got for you guys for today.
Wait a minute. I wanted to say something. I wanted to say something to Brian.
Go for it.
Oh boy.
Hopefully I could. No, it's nothing bad. No, what I'm saying is, like, after November 5th, if the Democrats win, the Republicans and the conservatives and the normies aren't going to do what the Democrats will do if they lose on November 5th.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, but what you're saying isn't false either, because if they try and she's going to destroy the country, and she's going to try and come for your guns. And then that's when it's all going to go to hell. And that's when they're going to find out that even in America, you don't need an F-15.
Yeah. Amen, brother. Amen.
Yeah, I think we got, like, if a country of 30 million, the size of Texas, can fight back against Russia, I think Texas, which is about the same size, with almost the same population, combined with all those other great freedom-loving Republican states, I think we can stand up to the tyranny.
Oh, for sure.
Just make sure you guys are locking down rounds. If you ain't got a lot, start buying them now. They're expensive.
No shit, right?
and they're gonna try and make it impossible to get them. So y'all have a great evening. If you want to help support us, you can go check out the merch shop, www.warmongershop.store. I'm gonna try and get a URL specifically for this, but the merch store is for this show and for my streaming channels. You guys can check that out. It helps us do what we do. And you guys have a great evening. Thanks so much.
Peace
out. Keep on keeping on.
Peace out.